entire Adobe suite is its ability to accept many different formats of images and documents, etc. It also is able to save in many different formats, making it pretty much compatible with everything that you need. If I'm done with my document and I decide I want to save it, I can always go File and Save, okay? Or Save As, which will give us many different options. But in this drop-down menu, you can save it as a CS6 document, as a template, or as a format that can be read by previous versions of InDesign. If I were to save it in a CS4 format, some of the features that are offered in CS6 will not be available in CS4, and it may mess up your formatting slightly. So if you basically wanted to save it as a CS document, this is how you would do it. In InDesign, however, if you want to save it in multiple different formats, you want to actually export your document. If you click on Export, you will see that you have several different options available here. Usually when you're working in InDesign, you're going to be using InDesign to create multi-page layouts like newsletters or magazine articles. You wouldn't typically want to save in a JPEG, which is basically an image. Who knows, you may. You may also want to save it as an HTML or a web page. You may want to save it as a Flash player. Perhaps you've added some sort of interactive elements to your page. An Epub is another advantage to InDesign. You can save it as a digital book, for example, something that you would read in iBooks. When you export as an Epub, there are many different elements that you have to consider. The one format that I'm going to discuss the most is your PDF. This is probably the one that you're going to use the most with InDesign, because when you export documents in InDesign, you need to keep in mind that it has to be all contained. In previous videos, we talked about how these images are linked to images that you have saved in a particular folder. The Adobe PDF combines everything into one single file. So if I select my print here and click Save, it's going to ask me where I want to save it. But it's also going to give me a bunch of different options. Suppose I want to compress my PDF in some form or another. This will determine, like, let's say if I wanted to save it for display and download from the web. I want all my images to be at 72 dpi and not 300 dpi, because that's going to greatly affect the size of the file. However, if I want to save it and have it so that it's available for print, I want to keep my images at a higher resolution. I can set up my marks and my bleeds. For example, this red line is my bleed if I want to print something clear to the edge, or if I want crop marks on there. My output, I can adjust my color conversion, and I'm also offered many advanced features. You can also add a description. Say you're sending your PDF to the printer and you have special instructions for them. High quality print, you can print in several different formats here. Compatibility, not everybody out there is as caught up on the software as everybody would like. Adobe Acrobat 5 is typically 5 or above is typically what everybody has. So we'll keep it at that. When you have everything set up the way that you want, you can go ahead and click Export, and it saves it as a single file. You can go to File and Package. Okay, and what this will do is it will save everything within a certain folder. It will save your InDesign file. It will save all your images in a folder and all your links, and it'll also save a text document with any kind of instructions and all of the data about your InDesign file in the text document. It will save all of your fonts. It'll make sure that all of your fonts are located and it knows exactly where they are. Your links and your images, if your links are not connected, you will see a little yellow triangle saying there's a certain error somewhere. It'll save all of your colors. Let's say you have selected individual Pantone or you've created custom colors. You can adjust your print settings in here. So basically what happens when you package everything is it is going to save everything in a specified folder so that it's all contained in case you want to give it off to a printer. So these are a couple of the many different ways that InDesign has to save files in multiple formats and to export in multiple outputs.